Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to bring you this interview with Scott Aldred. Scott has had a really unique seat at the table, I would say, through the development of ASEA. He started as the Chief Operations Officer, which means he oversaw production of all of the redox signaling products, as well as distribution, which sort of became challenging during the pandemic and having to navigate all of the shipping issues. He soon left that role, went and became president of ASEA, and then shortly thereafter, CEO of ASEA. And in the position of CEO, he got to oversee the project of RedoxGold. And that means he oversaw the research that was done with the university partners, and he got early access to the product, so he's been able to use it now for a few months. He planned the leadership event that I just got home from, and it was incredible to see the preview of this product and to have my hands on it. And recently, I will say, Scott surprised all of us, and he retired from his role at corporate, and he and his wife, Gloria, decided to join the field, and they're now continuing to share ASEA, to share the vision of this, and get it out to humanity. It's something that's on his heart, it's on my heart. And I asked him here today because I wanted to sit down and I wanted to specifically talk about RedoxGold and gain his insights on this technology. Many are calling this Redox 2.0, the next generation of ASEA. I thought, Scott, it would be fun to kind of start at the beginning when you first came across ASEA and your initial reaction when you went and toured the production facility all those years ago.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be with you today. And hopefully I can offer some insight and maybe these little nuggets of wisdom for everybody. When I first was introduced to ASEA, it was 13 years ago. And a friend of mine was working and running the production facility, which at the time was very, very small. And the company was starting to grow, it was starting to expand into Europe. And he actually called me because they had some issues getting products shipped into Europe. And my background was manufacturing and distribution of dietary supplements. And so, of course, we had a good relationship there. And I was able to kind of offer some insight, and then actually got to see where the production was taking place. And for those of you that know me, sometimes I'll embellish stories so that they're more impactful, but this is not an embellishment whatsoever. I went and looked at the production, and I was very intrigued, but also very skeptical, because here was salt and water, electricity. All I could think is that's very dangerous and someone's going to get hurt here, but it just didn't seem legitimate at the time. And I remember spending some time there and then driving home. It was a short distance from my home, and getting home, and my wife said, "Well, how was that?" And I said, "Wow, that company is going to go out of business because it's not legitimate. There's too many things missing." And little did I know that began a 13-year journey for me. And really, what was interesting is after that visit, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept thinking, how does a business evolve out of something that to me seemed illegitimate? Because my production background in dietary supplements, you always had to have ingredients, and the ingredients made the product.
Yeah.
Well, the only ingredient was salt and a very purified water, and that was it. And I thought that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I thought that's not a legitimate business. That's not a legitimate product. But I thought it was very interesting. I did get a sample of the product, and like probably many of you thought, this tastes very strange. People will describe it as pool water. And I thought, in the ingredient panel on the back, it was actually a pouch I was given was salt and water. I thought that's not an ingredient set. So really highly skeptical when I was first introduced to the company.
Yeah, I think so many of us, right? I think that's the initial sort of reaction. It's, wait, what are they talking about? Salt and water. What is going on here? And I guess the short version, really, because it's been 13 years and you've learned a lot. Your opinion has obviously changed. Can you share with us what you learned about this technology that ASEA has? And, their kind of core technology, the ASEA Redox, the flagship, really, the liquid, as well as, of course, the Renew 28 gel that came out. But I'd love to hear kind of your evolution of discovering what this was, and if you could share with everybody just kind of how this core technology works.
Well, first, it's helpful to understand that I was interviewed soon thereafter because what they needed to do was build a new production facility because the business was growing. And the space they were in was quite small. It wasn't even actually a manufacturing building. It was more of a warehouse that had been converted. And so they needed someone that had a background in the guidelines from the FDA to help set up a new facility. And definitely I was interested in doing that. I was intrigued. Learned a little bit about the company, met with the founder, Vertus Norton. It's kind of an irony that I was actually interviewed and hired by current CEO, Jerem Webb.
Oh, interesting.
And so that was kind of my introduction to the team.
Uh-huh.
And I felt that there was something different, especially after meeting with Vertus, because here was somebody that was retired, that didn't need to be working, had a very in-depth career in corporate America. And he was really passionate about the company and the technology. So I came to build that facility. Matter of fact, my second day, I had a meeting at the city offices of Pleasant Grove to submit the final details of the plan to build out what we know now as the Redox Center. And so once you're kind of committed like that, really my first 3 weeks was spent in the lab with the technicians. There was 2 quality technicians that were testing the product, and to learn everything they knew. And I started seeing test results, and I started saying, wait a minute, that's not possible. And so we would have these really long discussions until I knew that there was active molecules in the product. And of course, I was taking the product, and having my very first product experience was very quick recovery from strenuous exercise.
Yeah.
And I thought there's something to this. Like I put it to the test. I worked out as hard as I could, did a very heavy weight workout, and I had no muscle soreness the next day. And I had been taking the product for a couple of days, and then took it, a couple of days after, and really noticed, hey, there's something here. But then seeing the lab, seeing my own personal results, and then starting to develop an understanding of the technology, because it was very unique, and I had never seen anything like that in my career. And so once understanding the technology and then seeing the test results, then in a very, very short time, my conviction was very solid. And then I knew that it was something I wanted to be part of. So that was kind of the evolution. And most people don't get that opportunity to actually see test results, actually see the core technology and begin to understand that, and then build the conviction on top of that. And so that's one of the purposes of sharing is I want people to know it's legitimate. Obviously, there's a ton of intellectual property there, and much of it's been developed since that day, over 12 years ago. But the core technology remains the same today. And so it's very solid. It's very unique. And I can tell you, after many, many years of testing and seeing this thing evolve, it is completely true.
Yeah. Yeah, you've had a front row seat to it. And quality control, right? With it gets shipped around and it reaches different temperatures. And I have people call, oh, it froze. Is it okay? And I just, have really appreciated how thorough you all have been at corporate to figure out, okay, based on all of these things, does it impact it? And the answer is no. And it's totally safe. And you guys figured out how to get it around the world, which is amazing. I guess in your own words, briefly, how would you explain why it says water and sodium chloride as the ingredient base, and what's actually in it if it's not just salt and water?
Yeah, there's different label requirements for different countries, and you're just required to put on the base ingredients. And we go through a electrical process when the product is made, and you're not actually required to put or list the molecules. And that's been one of the trade secrets and intellectual property that ASEA has been very, very diligent in protecting. Is if you list the molecules, then people may be able to reverse engineer the product. And there are different levels of activity in the molecules. And I know over time there's been a lot of hearsay and a lot of guessing what it is. But the active part of the molecules are what cause the reaction. So by definition, in different countries, according to their version of the FDA and of course the Food and Drug Administration of the United States, you're required to put on exactly what the base ingredients of the product is. And that's why it says that. And so a lot of people will say, why can't you list the molecules? Well, the molecules are actually the intellectual property of the product.
Yeah, makes sense to me. And so from there, things have continued to develop. And one thing you mentioned a lot of was the research. That's what kind of brought you around to understanding, okay, we're actually getting results here from something. This is more than it appears on the surface. And you all have continued to seek out partnerships with laboratories, universities around the world, and explain to us how things kind of evolved from this broad spectrum, this core technology, to now developing Redox Gold. And why are people talking about this as like the next generation, as 2.0? How does this differ from what we're used to with ASEA?
Over time, we developed a more detailed knowledge of why the product worked. And we started to see some of the signaling in different genetic pathways in the body. And then we began to understand how we could control it by the concentration level of the molecule. So not only did the testing and the equipment to test evolve over time and get more advanced, and the methods that were used to test, the university research continued to evolve. And the early days, they really didn't know what they were looking for. They were looking for some type of activity, and there was different studies that were being done. And then really the breakthrough was in 2017 with the Torrent Lab studies. It started to measure genetic expression. And what that means is that signaling was taking place inside the body. That's called a gateway study. It means it opens the gate to other studies. And once we kind of understood mechanism of action, there at that point there began to be an evolution of the technology. Many things began to be refined, and you've seen that over the years with the expiration date.
Mm-hmm.
So the expiration date 13 years ago for a ASEA Redox supplement was 12 months. Well, over time, we were able to make the product more and more stable through the processing and testing of the product. And now it's 21 months, but the activity levels are increased with the redox signaling molecules. And so the testing, the development of the manufacturing process went hand in hand. And then university partners became more willing to do the testing, and thus leading to the new generation product, which is RedoxGold. So many, many things happened over the years. To be honest, COVID was a blessing because what that did is allowed us to slow down. And for me personally, traveling internationally, to just be at the home base for an extended amount of time. It's really where the technology kind of internally took the next step as far as understanding. We invested in additional lab equipment, better processing, better measurements, better equipment on the production side. And then the university partners started to come out. And so it was really fortuitous that all these things happened at the same time. ASEA was also blessed with some very key personnel coming into the company at that time, with actual PhDs in organic chemistry and biochemistry, cellular biology, different things like that coming into the company to help with the understanding. And then the engineering process caught up to the company as well. So you had engineering coming with science coming together with also a much more qualified and experienced quality team. So all these things kind of happened, and some of the personnel that's there today were very key in making that happen.
Amazing. And it's so interesting how sometimes in life things have to slow down so they can speed up. And it's kind of like we had a pause button during that pandemic, and you all were able to kind of focus in a little bit more deeply, get the right people in the right position, right on the bus, so you could drive further. And talking about Redox Gold now. So what these university partners were able to do, from my understanding, is it was kind of like a double click on a certain pathway. We went, okay, this product, and the Renew 28 are playing a lot of keys. They're activating a lot of different genetic pathways, but there was one in particular that kind of got honed in on that has allowed for the Redox Gold development to give us the results that we're getting. So I guess from the perspective of the research, what did they double click on? What were they looking for? Why did they go that route? And then we'll talk about, well, what actually happens when you use the product.
Yeah. So it's really interesting in the fact that we started a study that was really a follow-up study to the 2017 for genetic expression. And we
Okay.
were looking specifically at one pathway, and that's the NRF2 pathway. Um, that's where the study started. And what a lot of people don't understand is what happened last June with the essential bundle
Mhm.
and releasing information about the increased concentration level of the ASEA Redox supplement. That was phase one of the study.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So what happened was we said, okay, how can we use this study and release this information and say, okay, here's genetic expression, here's what we found that you can get optimum levels of signaling. So that was actually the first release of that information, and then there was additional white papers and different things done. So that was phase one. From that, we said, how can we take this information and start, like you said, start targeting a response, because you have a non-targeted response with the SEA Redox supplement
Right.
and with Renew 28. So
Mhm.
how can we take that specific information and create a product? Once we had the information, now let's go into product development. And that was what's been happening for the last 3.5 years, and thus the result of Redox Gold.
Nice. And so I guess check me on this. My understanding of Redox Gold is that now we've been able to create a certain maybe subset of redox species that are targeted for this pathway. And then the use of gold, literally 24 karat gold, is to help allow for, is it like more reactions to happen with less energy, or the gold helps to target this pathway as well? Or what's the interplay now between the redox and the gold?
That's a good question. So the gold acts as a catalyst. So
Mhm.
what it is, what's happening is we're able to amplify the signal of the redox signaling molecules, thus targeting them specifically. Now, there's going to be continued studies on redox gold and some other products, some that are more targeted.
Mhm.
But what we saw, and this was actually a surprise to the different universities that were working on it, was what they're looking for genetic expression is they can look specifically at the production or the increased production of glutathione.
Right.
And that's what they were looking at. And they said, wait a minute, this is what a CA redox supplement is doing. This is what Renew 28 is doing. That's great. You saw that science introduced last year. But when you add the catalyst, which is the gold, and by the way, there were multiple noble metals that were tested.
Hmm.
Gold wound up being the best one to amplify the signal.
I see.
And this is what's happening. The product that you know today as Redox Gold was not initially developed for what it is today. We really thought it was going to be this amazing skincare product, and we were going to be able to amplify the redox signaling molecules through a catalyst of gold. And what was interesting is it didn't have the same properties that Renew 28 did as far as the results. And
Hmm.
so we said, wait a minute, we may have missed the mark, but it was the different labs that were telling us, no, you've hit the target directly. And they were amazed. They'd never seen that in any product. And they were doing multiple tests to validate it. They were actually going over to different departments and saying, can you test this? Because we've got it with something's wrong with our equipment. We can't believe these results. And so then we said, okay, what do we really know? We really know how to produce, and we had a lot of production capacity with a gel.
Hmm.
So all the equipment is in place. Um, all that, all the production capacity is there. How can we take all that information and this new generation product and play to the strength of the company? And that is the production. That is
Yeah.
the production of gel. So there was really some untapped production. And so the product was developed to what equipment that was already in place and the expertise of the staff that was in
Huh.
place.
Oh, interesting. That is like a behind the scenes on how this all took shape. And I mean, I have to say, from my end, just seeing the end result, I just thought, what a genius thing to create, because how many people are wanting something that's going to help with discomfort? Like, I mean, it's just amazing how many people are living with discomfort in their body. And with what you've created through all of this research, and for people that don't understand NRF2 or glutathione, just in layman's terms, what that means for you is now your body is going to have access to something that can help stimulate relief and recovery. And Scott, can you speak to, because you obviously started to use the product, and I guess it's been about 3 months now. Can you speak to
Almost
what
four
you've
months
seen?
now. Yeah.
Oh, it's 4 months. Okay. So 4 months. Tell us what you've seen, the relief side, the recovery side, the results of actually, using the product on yourself.
Yeah, that's interesting because once we went to what we call a benchtop sample, that's something that you can produce in the lab with very limited scalability. So it's just really so you can get the product in finished form, and it's literally done on the benchtop of the lab with rudimentary equipment, but you're able to get the result that you need. So we were making limited amounts, putting it in labeled Renew 28 tubes because the tubes are very specific because they're made of material that's non-reactive. So there are some properties with redox signaling molecules. You have to make sure they're in the right material when they're stored. So literally filling those and sealing those by hand. And what was interesting is once people started using that, this is like some of the lab and myself, quality folks, we knew we had it. We
Mm.
absolutely knew because there was results. People were getting immediate results, and nobody wanted to share their product. So I was no different in the fact that I had samples and I didn't share them with my wife Gloria until I had sufficient samples. Um, 39 years ago, I hurt my back lifting weights, powerlifting, and really had been in discomfort for 39 years
Oh, wow.
and was able to manage through it by staying fit, by staying active, but just always having that there. And
Mhm.
so I started using it on my back pre-workout and felt relief
Yeah.
very quickly and started saying this product was really amazing. So what that allowed me to do was work out longer, harder, strengthen some of my core muscles, which would help, build the tissue around the injury and have a result there. But what's really key is not just the relief, it's the recovery aspect of the product. So I noticed the relief takes, it's almost immediate, but it lasts longer each time. So my routine is use it pre-workout in the morning. Very first thing is I'm getting dressed to do my workout. And then after I shower, I'll use it again. And that seems to have relief for me most of the day. Then one more application just before I go to bed. So I'm getting a much more high quality restfulness through my sleep
Mhm.
because I'm not in discomfort. So that for me has been the result. 2 weeks ago, I had my first week of doing 100 miles of cardio in a week. That's a cross between treadmill and bike, of course, and then followed that up again next week. And I'm not kidding one bit when I say there's no way I could have done that without this product. And also now that I have time to do
Yeah,
that
of
kind
course.
of a lengthy workout, that helps. But that's the key. It's not just the relief. Some people are going to have relief anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes. They're going to start seeing a result, start feeling a result, but it's the recovery aspect. And that's why this product is so different. There's a lot of products out there that will give you relief on a temporary basis, but you need the ability to recover.
Yeah.
And that's what ASEA Redox supplement has always been there for. But now we have a very targeted product to help with both aspects, relief and recovery.
It's so exciting. It just like the dual action of that is it's everything you would want, and I was actually going to ask you like, well, what makes this different from other products that give relief? But you just hit the nail on the head with it, explaining that it's not just that aspect. And I thought it was interesting. You said the more you use it, am I correct that you just said it, you feel that it lasts a little bit longer with each?
Yeah, the consistency aspect of it.
Huh.
And for me, it's been 3 times a day. For someone else, it might be different. I
Right.
don't, everybody's dealing with something differently. I've known a lot of people have had increased mobility right away because of the product.
Yeah.
But for me, really, as you get older, it's more and more difficult to stay fit and especially keep your muscle tone and your muscle mass. But sometimes you've got to have a little bit of help.
Right.
And And having been a former athlete and raised, one of my daughters was a track athlete in college, and really been around athletics my whole life, there are multiple applications for this product, all the way from athletic performance because of relief and recovery, all the way up to if you're just not feeling your best and you've got something that's troubling you, here's a product for you.
Yeah.
And it's very, very interesting, as I've shared this product with other people, that people will try it. That's all you're asking them to do is try it. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so different for ASEA, is you finally have a product that you get immediate result. And
Yeah.
it's what we were looking for. And if you look back when we released Cell Performance, that was the intent. Have something that somebody can feel right away. But it
Yeah.
wasn't redox signaling. It was powered by redox, meaning that you can have a redox reaction by ingredient, but this is different. These are by molecules. And so it's a very different approach to a well-known problem and difficulty that many, many people have.
Yeah.
And that's discomfort.
Yeah, well said. Now, as I've been kind of experimenting because I thought, everyone around me has different things going on. So I've just been playing around and saying, hey, we'll put it here, put it there. And it's been interesting that some people, it's like very quickly, they're feeling the relief. They feel like relaxed, it feels cooling. And then other people, it's taking some time. And I'm curious, like, is there any way for us to know from the research, like, are we sure that it's going to allow for relief in everyone? And is there any evidence of the recovery side from the research perspective? Obviously, anecdotally in your own experience, but what did the research tell us on those two things?
Yeah, the research is interesting in the fact that everybody's always wanted to see the research. Show us the science, show us the
And
science.
people love it.
And let me maybe give everybody a little bit of a pro tip. Lead with your product experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Because not everybody's going to understand genetic expression or glutathione production or these different things. So lead with your product experience. Develop your own testimonial, what that is. Then go a step back. And if someone needs a little bit more evidence, then you have thermographic imaging that is 100% proof positive that you're seeing cooling. Okay. Those images were taken 15 minutes after the application. So it wasn't just because if somebody sprayed water or the cooling effect of the gel. The cooling means that whatever's going on there is being calmed down.
Mhm.
That you have actual images to show that. And then if you need to go to the science, you actually have results that says, here's what happened in increased production of glutathione.
Mhm.
Okay. There's an actual number. There's a measurement that was measured by the universities. But if you start with the science, you may lose people right there.
Yeah.
Right? They might not understand it. So start with your own personal experience. So when I've told people, this is what it did for my back.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you have an area of discomfort? Can you use it? So that's kind of a pro tip in going in reverse. But you do have 3 points of evidence.
Yeah.
Okay. Your own personal experience, you have thermographic imaging, and then you do have test results from very credible universities.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what more evidence people would need than those
I,
3
I
points.
hear you, Scott. I feel the same way. And I think what's been interesting because people are very open to trying it. Like there's no problem to rub it on and just I'm like, well, let's just see what it brings you. And the question has been, why did that work? Like, how did that work so fast? What is in there? And then it's like, oh, well, you can kind of explain the details, but starting with all the details, there's just no need. Let people try it and see what happens. So I'm kind of curious. You alluded to it a little bit that we are, as a company, they are looking at maybe other ways to get specific species or specific reactions or target in on specific pathways. And I'm curious with this new research capability and this new insight that we have, this advancement, right, with dialing in the redox molecules, where do you see things going? I know you've kind of stepped out of the role, so you don't have that
Yeah.
front row seat, but I'm sure you got some things in motion before you left.
Yeah, that is the thing with a little bit of sadness is I don't get firsthand information now, but knowing that the high quality of the team, the character of the quality and experience with those individuals, it's going to continue. And really, now that it's discovered, then there can be other products developed. The one thing is you don't want to get too distracted. And I remember with the development of Renew 28, it was like the first kind of stories from the company was we have a product, there's nothing we can do to improve it.
Mm.
Well, the breakthrough happened was we could turn the product into a gel for a topical application. Okay, that was a breakthrough. And then you've had some different things over time with different products like Redox serum and then clay mask,
Mhm.
that are Redox specific products. This is much different
Mm.
in the fact that this product should not, you don't want to develop another product too soon. Let
Yeah.
this one go and really penetrate into the different markets and let people tell their story. I've learned maybe in that's what people are. They're storytellers.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, I mean, you have a wonderful personal experience with the product as well. Um, but tell your story. Do it sincerely. Do it with complete truthfulness. You don't have to make anything up. This is what it did for me, and it's going to impact different people different ways. This depends on what they're trying to treat and what they're or what's going on within individuals.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you have a broken arm, it's not going to do anything to heal your bone. Okay. So be careful how you use it and how, and I've already heard a lot of people kind of going what we refer to as off label
Yes.
uses.
Me too.
Just really stay in the center lane and don't get too much on the edges. And you'll find plenty of people that are interested in really learning about that. The less you say is better. I've just told people it's a massaging sports gel for relief and recovery. And they say, well, what's in it? I say, there's gold in it. There's actual gold. And then if they say, well, how is it working? I said, well, do you understand redox signaling molecules? And if they don't, I don't say anything else. Okay. I'm not going to try to explain. I'm going to say, okay, let's put it on.
There you go.
And we had, just recently a friend come over and she was having, some discomfort. And obviously, he said, oh, just go in the restroom. It was on her hip and said, go in the restroom down the hall and just apply this and come back and tell us what you feel. So we continued our conversation. And when she got up to leave, she got up very easily. Said,
Yeah.
wow, there's something happening.
Yeah.
So that's as simple as it can get.
Hmm.
Don't say too much
Yeah.
because what we do is we try to become PhD scientists. I don't have a science background. My background is in quality, manufacturing, distribution. I understand it very well because I've had great teachers that have, over the years, have taught me very, very well. But most people are not PhD scientists or medical professionals, but they know they have discomfort
Yep.
and they're looking for that relief. And what they don't know is they actually need to recover.
Hmm.
So our good friend Dr. Lee Osler coined the phrase redox lifestyle. It's all
Mm.
part of the same thing. Take care of yourself, get proper rest, have good nutrition, exercise as much as you can, and as much get as much activity as you can. Use good products, and probably what we don't think about is make sure you treat other people really, really well.
Yeah.
Kind of add all those things together, um, and it leads to a great life. And I hope people can understand that.
Yeah. Scott, I appreciate you so much. I mean, sitting with you, it's like you bring, well, your heart and soul. It's like your purpose on this planet was certainly to come in contact with ASEA and to help bring this to where it has gone. And when we'll see now, you get to help at the individual level, person by person, and see it spreading, which is a whole nother joy. When you know that because you opened your mouth, someone else is now feeling better, like your friend able to stand, more easily with her hip. So I appreciate your resolve, your clarity, your authenticity. I'm grateful for your journey and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And thank you for sitting down to have this conversation and help us all kind of understand where we are. And, I said to my team the other day, I said, well, those of you that have been around for some time, I want you to kind of forget everything that you know and, and just Go put this on people, help people where they've got some discomfort. And if they ask you, well, what is that? Or is there anything more? What else does this company do? Explain what this can do for the skin, explain the power of drinking something internally and activating even more pathways, and just move into that conversation with much more ease. And yeah, stop trying to get a PhD in redox signaling.
Right. That's good. Good advice.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Scott. And for all of you watching, thank you for watching this. We appreciate you. And if you have any questions, as always, just reach out. My number is in the description. Put anything in the comments. We will reply to them, and appreciate all of you, and hope to see you on the other side and hear about your redox journey.